Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome. Today is Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. My name is Jeremy. This is my first cup. How's it going out there, everyone? It's not super cold out. It's a recording day. Yesterday was Halloween. I want to know all the things. What did you do yesterday? Did you dress up? Did your kids dress up? Did you give out candy? Did you keep all of the lights off and watch reruns of movies you've seen dozens of times and go to bed early? I did that. I am actually absolutely terrified is not the right word, but I am afraid of kids coming to my door and me not having candy. Because I know what that felt like as a kid, to knock on a neighbor's door and they had forgotten it was Halloween. And I felt so awful because the premise of Halloween is ridiculous to start with. We know this. There's just this one day we've all decided we're going to put on costumes and ask almost complete strangers, sometimes actually complete strangers, for candy. It's ridiculous. So there I was, like 7 years old, and one of the neighbors was like, "Oh, I forgot it was Halloween. I'm sorry. Let me see what I can find you." And then there's that awkward moment while you're standing there. The husband's in the door, your mother's standing there, you're standing there, and she's digging around in the fridge. And as an adult, she's going, "We don't have anything. I don't know. What am I going to give this kid? Money?" So I try to avoid that. Because the first couple years I bought candy and no one showed up. I tried to get them to show up. They didn't show up. So no candy. Good morning, Frank, Jenny, Mark, Dennis, Brian, Nikki, and all the rest of you, whether you're watching now or later. There's somebody in here as Facebook user. I don't know who you are, and I'm sorry. Here, I'll even put this comment up. I don't know who this person is. Facebook user, feel like I woke up in VA. Dennis is driving to the office under protest. Jenny says, "We trick-or-treated at Matt's mom's house. Lilith had a great time. She didn't even notice it was raining." Oh, that's awesome. I don't know, Brian. So Brian's asking, he's running Twitch and Facebook. I don't get a breakdown of how many people are on which platform. All I get is a total number. I've got 9 right now. So who knows? Nikki's suggesting, check out the evolution of Halloween. It's kind of interesting. At some point, I would have known all that stuff, but I've forgotten. Frank, I'm not alone. Frank also turned out the lights, watched a comedy in the middle. Kelly says, participated in my first trunk or treat with my church. Andrew was a scarecrow and I was a crow. It was so much fun, especially since I told my students they wouldn't recognize me as they expected me to be in uniform. I don't know, Mel. That is weird. Well, hello, Mel. Looks like we're doing it. We're getting those Twitch numbers. I will say it's been kind of interesting. The delay. Remember, we used to worry about the delay. The delay was a big deal, and we were trying to figure all that out. The delay between this and Twitch is about 2 seconds. I don't know what it still is on Facebook, but it used to be 8 to 10 seconds. Twitch is 2 seconds. So if you want the most authentic experience, apparently it's Twitch. Hello, Stacy. What else? So what happened yesterday other than me not giving out candy to anyone? Had an acupuncture appointment, had a few meetings, got some work done. It was a decent day. Here, I can take this banner down. I don't know why it's still up. Because I didn't take it down. And had a call with Craig where he mentioned something about free training day. And I said, oh, well, let's do that the Monday on the week before. And I went, wait, and I looked at the calendar, and that was yesterday. Free training day. I leave to go to the hotel in 9 days. Free training day is almost here. Woo! I am excited and nervous and happy and terrified and a whole bunch of other emotions. We've been doing a great job as a team. I'm super pumped, but man. And I was telling Craig, I said, I'm glad what we're doing is happening. The event has grown because of it. We are on the road to making this a profitable segment of Whistlekick, which is cool. Like taking a free event and making money off it, like it's kind of neat. But there's a part of me that misses the early days because I would just say, hey, show up here at this time. And I'd put up a couple pieces of paper with some tape. And I'd say, all right, over there is this and over there is that. And people just kind of look at me and they're like, that's it? Yep. Have fun. And that's kind of what we did at South and Pacific Northwest this year. It was just kind of just show up. We made it simple. And I loved that. It was fun. There's nothing wrong with simple. Wow. Stacy said, I'm just waking up. Was up for 24 hours. Slept like a baby. That's a lot. Kelly says, all last week, every class was a Halloween party. It was so much fun. Dennis says, we only had 3 trick-or-treaters. You've been to our house, so you know our road is difficult to walk in the dark. So the candy's going to the office today. Good call. Good call. Oh, so that was yesterday. Today's a recording day. 3 out of the 4 slots are full. And there was a big name we had to postpone. Those of you in the Patreon know who that name is. There's another fairly big name, not quite as big, but a name that quite a few of you would recognize from that era as well. And they're also recording today. So I'm kind of stoked about today. Today should be a pretty good day, recording-wise. And this is part of why I don't try, right? Anybody need candy? We all know what that feels like to have that big bowl of candy. And you're like, what am I going to do with it? And everybody else has a big bowl of candy too, because you can't underbuy candy. You have to buy too much candy. Stacey says, bought for $150, had 100. That's still quite a few people. That's fun. I'm curious, were there any costume themes this year? Was there anything that the kids were dressed up as often? Was there a recurring costume? Wow. Stacey said a coworker had 590 in Heinsberg. Now, if you know Heinsberg, it's not a very large town. A few thousand. That's a lot. Randolph is kind of similar in that a lot of people from surrounding towns will converge because there's a nice walkable neighborhood. And I've given out candy in that area before, and it's nonstop. You pretty much don't shut the door. And for a town that has 5,000 people, people will give out probably about that much candy. It's a lot. It's kind of cool. It's intense. Nikki's got a good way. I didn't open all the bags so I can return it to the store. There you go. Oh, Stacey says lots of princesses and minions. Oh, little kids dressed as minions. That sounds so cute. Oh, I love it. I'll go to the gym today. Finished watching the movie I was watching yesterday was the last Pirates of the Caribbean. I've seen those several times. The beginning of the last one is great. The rest of the movie's okay. But the beginning, when they're in port and there's the chase scene, so good. One of my favorite scenes out of that whole series. Jenny says, we didn't notice any themes, but we didn't go very far. Nothing was impressive or wow this year. A couple of those inflatable costumes that make you look like you're riding a dinosaur. Those are fun. The teens were in Star Wars with their lightsabers. Oh, that's cool. Kelly says, I was surprised to see 2 Garfields. And she says, wow, about Heinsberg. She knows where Heinsberg is. I teach there. Wouldn't expect that many. Part of the reason I did trunk or treat was to avoid the craziness there is on my street. Kids get bussed in. Woo. Jenny says, Lilith was a minion, Matt was Gru, and I was Lucy. We got a lot of folks stopping to tell us we looked awesome. Oh, that's so great. I'm sure there are pictures. I hope there are pictures. I want to see these pictures. Is there anything else? No, I think Halloween, I appreciate Halloween because it's changed a lot since I was a kid, but it's still the least commercial of holidays, right? I haven't seen any messaging saying you have to buy people gifts, and there's still value in making costumes. In fact, I think there might be a resurgence on that with the value of cosplay. People doing up their costumes for conventions and things. I think that's super cool. My mother refused to buy me a costume. She would spend the time and the money with me making a costume, but she wasn't willing to buy a costume. And as an adult now, I can appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, and there are pictures. Great. I'll have to check those out later. Anything else? Anything else before we switch gears? I don't think so. Well, all right. Dennis says, I wore a blonde wig on all of my Zoom calls yesterday. Woo! Well, let's switch gears. Frank sent over some quotes from someone I think very highly of. And thank you, as always, to Frank for all of his work on the show. And shout out to Josh for our theme song. Here we go. In the end, it is the person you become, not the things you have achieved, that is the most important. Les Brown. All these quotes are from Les Brown. The idea of who you become versus what you have or what you bring or keep or die with. Sometimes people remember, oh, do you remember that car they had? Or do you remember that big house they had? But really, if you dig in, it's memories. It's where you went in that car. It's playing hide and seek in that house. It's the food they cooked in that kitchen. And the memories are tied to the kind of person you are and your willingness to spend time and your willingness to share. These are the things that matter most. And this is something I've been working through and understanding and embracing, this idea that I actually have a great deal of flexibility in my life. And so many people work so hard to have time. I actually have quite a bit of time. And I'm trying to enjoy that right now because I expect we will go through a growth phase at Whistlekick where I won't have as much time. So enjoy it while I have it. And then we'll do some other things, and some of that stuff will get delegated off, and I'll have more time again. But time, how you spend it, and who you spend it with, I think that's the most important thing. Stacy says, I kept changing my costume on my calls. I think my boss was kind of surprised by the 3:30 team meeting. I love it. Somebody posted a sad emoji. Why are you sad? Don't put sad emojis on our show. That makes me sad. No test, no testimony. You cannot make lemonade with sugar alone. You must have some sour lemons. You cannot learn good horsemanship by riding a tame horse. The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. Regardless of what happens to you, never say you are having a bad day. Say you are having a character building day. All the things that you are going through are building your character. You are being shaped and designed for your greatness. You have something special. You have greatness within you. Heard the saying, you win or you learn. A harbor, what's the saying about boats in a harbor? A boat's safe in a harbor, but that's not what boats are for. A ship is safe in a harbor, but that's not what a ship is for. There's a big difference between a ship and a boat. If you get it wrong around people who care about the difference, they get really upset. I think we have been fed this idea that life is supposed to be easy. It's not. I don't think it ever was supposed to be. I think we're at a point where we have, quote, solved so many of the problems that we've historically had as a species. It is rare. Don't come after me. I know it still happens. It is rare for people to die of starvation. It is rare for people to die from war. The lowest rungs of Western society live better than all but royalty even a couple hundred years ago. Think about that for a moment. It's pretty remarkable. And if you start to think about things in that way, at least for me, I'm pretty grateful that I was born where I am and when I am. But that doesn't mean there aren't opportunities for growth through, let's call them trials. In martial arts, we set up trials, right? Whether it's testing or simply a difficult class once in a while or going to a competition. We embrace trials because we know they make us better. They give us better understanding of who we are and how we face things. They give us better understanding of our skill and where we need to spend more time. But it's valued. Think about the notion of paying for a black belt test. Why would we do that? Because we understand the value. Paying for competition. We understand the value. If we didn't, we wouldn't do it. Kelly says, oh my, that comment about horse riding reminds me of our very stubborn pony when we were kids. He was fine until he was able to see the barn. Then he'd decide he was done and run to the barn. And if the door was open, right into the barn. Stupid pony. I like horses. Someday I hope to have enough land I can have horses. But not just one horse, because horses need friends. We need to embrace challenging things. Challenging things make us better. That doesn't simply have to exist within our martial arts training. It can exist anywhere. And if you go into difficult things instead of with a focus on winning or defeating or I guess any mindset other than how am I going to learn from this? I don't think you're getting as much out of it as you can. How do you learn from this? What is this difficult time in your life teaching you? Is there something that you could have done differently that you will do differently next time to prevent it from happening again? There's a lot of value there. And I understand what Stacy's saying here. Yep, all that you were saying doesn't mean I want a simple, good, easy, non-challenging day. Some days when I'm learning that lesson, I just want to remain stupid. I understand. If ignorance is bliss, there are times I didn't want to, I wish I didn't know. Kelly says, when I talk to my students about participating in the last tournament, I told them it's also important to learn how to handle not winning. It builds character. Everyone can't win all the time. We have been conditioned. There's some forces in society trying to tell us that it's okay to not stratify people. You know, you're better than this person, than that person. I disagree. Understanding where we sit in society, in a martial arts school, in competition results, is very important to understanding who we are. If someone puts in very little time, very little effort, and it seems to them that the outcome is the same as someone put in much more time and effort, doesn't set them up for success later. Because whether we pretend it does or not, the world doesn't work that way. We're not all the same. We may have equal value, and I believe that, but it doesn't mean that we're all equal at any one thing. In other words, participation trophies are dumb. Frank adds, yes, to handle defeat without being defeated by it. We've got one more here. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Just because someone sees you in a certain way, good or bad, you get to choose. You get to choose your reality. Because remember, how you relate to your reality, those words are similar for a reason. That's up to you. I can sit in this home, this small home, and I can compare it to other homes that I've been in recently, and I can think, I am less than. I have a smaller home. I live in what some would term a less desirable place. Or I can say, I barely have to work to sustain this home. It served me well. It's quiet. I live in an area where people are starting to appreciate more and moving in and driving up prices. It's up to me. And I'm sure I could come up with other ways to look at it. It's about what you value. I don't need things simply to signal to others that I am doing well. I don't need to do well. I'm more interested in doing good. That is much more important to me. I believe if you do good long enough, you'll do well. But you can do well without doing good. Stacy says, my first breaking tournament, I took a drubbing. I cried. Swore I was never going to do it again. And then last year happened. Won an award for most boards broken in the season in the US for colored belts. That failure fueled the fire. It's all in how you look at it. Brian says, growing up for me had participation trophies, and they are called the memories of being present at the event, track meets, basketball games, etc. Yeah. Kelly says, we have testing this Saturday, and I make a list. Only students who know their patterns, which means they had to be practicing. So I remind them that they are actually the ones who decide if they are testing. If they choose not to practice, then they are choosing not to test. Boy, does it upset some students and unfortunately surprises some parents when they aren't on the list. But the next time they are ready, it's an important lesson. And I think it's so great that you do that. There are different ways to run testings, but I like, and this is not a criticism of the way anybody else does it, because different schools have different cultures. And there's value in different ways of running testing. But I grew up, you didn't test until the instructor believed you were ready. You passed when you showed you were ready. Frank says, Les Brown was labeled non-educatable as a boy until and I'm intentionally not reading that word that you can see in the comment. Because I'm fairly certain that may be a filter word on social media at this point. Until a much wiser teacher told him, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Nikki says, Noah has always hated participation trophies, even as a 6-year-old. I think inherently we all dislike them. I think there's something fundamental we understand they are not of value. But there is a certain population. We did an episode on participation trophies, and my solution is you don't give out a trophy, you give out a something else. There's a tournament in Maine that will give out plastic swords. Nobody thinks it's a trophy. Nobody thinks that they got first place when they got that. And I think that's a much better way to do it. Give the kids something to play with, and they'll be happy. Kids don't want to be left out. Participation trophies are not the only way to keep a kid from feeling left out. None of us want to be left out. But as adults, we understand, hey, maybe if I worked harder, maybe if I worked smarter, I wouldn't have been left out. All right. It's time to go. Remember, we do this show every weekday, 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Thank you for those of you who are watching on Twitch, including me. Thank you, me. If you want to support us, check out, I made an update on the family page yesterday. Pick up something up at whistlecake.com with the code FIRSTCUP15. Or join the Patreon if you want to know who are the names that Jeremy was talking about for today. For $2 a month, you can find out. Join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. Patreon.com/whistlecake. I appreciate you all. I thank you for coming by. I will see you tomorrow. And I hope you have a great day. Wish me luck. 3 recordings. Take care, everybody. Peace.